the International Business Growth Radio Network. I am your host, Jan Robberts, inspirational entrepreneur, co-founder of Key Leadership Institute and founder of JR Speakers Club. I'm a coach, trainer, speaker, values-based leadership specialist, personal profiling consultant and personal development professional. For more information about me, go to the IBGR website and check out my profile, because there you will find all the links to follow and get in touch with me. But by the way, we would love to hear from you in real time during the show. If you're listening live or to one of the recordings, you can always connect and interact with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter at ibgr.network, and of course also on YouTube. And do not forget, you can now download our amazing app to your phone, your tablet, your laptop, so you'll never have to do without us anymore. And I'm saying us because there is more than 40 of us hosts around the world in different areas to help you become more successful and guide you in your business. Now, this is episode 2 of season 4. And what I'm going to talk about today, of course, is your story, your voice, your time in the People Skills for Success lane at ibgr.network. So you can go to the www.ibgr.network and download the show notes for this show. Now, we've now started our 4th season, and we want you, our audience, to ask questions in each episode, each session from each show host and their respective subjects, which range, of course, from operations, customers, finance, to today's shows about people, and tomorrow, Friday, about owners as executives and working on the business rather than in the business. And because we are covering 4 time zones in all around the world, we are on air 24/7. Yes, believe it or not, 24/7. And I'm sure there will be enough in all of these areas to support you on your journey, wherever you are, what level you are, even if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and not ready to open the doors yet. But today, as I said already, I will talk about your story, your voice, your time. A confident entrepreneur helps their people find their voice. Now, if this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back. You know, it's an absolute fantabulous that more people from over 152 countries around the world are now listening to a wide variety of hosts and their programs every single week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And, you know, if you know somebody, when you're listening and you know somebody who could benefit from some of these programs, because I said there is 5 different days with 5 different areas of entrepreneurship, and today is a people side. But if you know somebody who could benefit at any level, at any time from this, in Facebook they say like and share it, but yes, share it with those people, because, you know, everybody's a leader, and good leaders don't just keep information to themselves, but they share it with others. So that's a great way to become an even better leader than you are already. But we're talking about the people side here, and I've chosen these subjects fairly carefully, I would say. They might seem simple, but I think simple is usually very good. We as human beings can make life too complicated. And you might say, you know, why stories? Well, let me start with just a little story to give you an idea, and it's about Mary Kay Ash. Everybody should know Mary Kay Cosmetics, but because the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics did have some work experience, but no formal education or entrepreneurial training before starting her company in 1963. Yes, that long ago. She had previously worked for Stanley Home Products, and it was at that job, after being passed over for a promotion in favor of a man she had trained, where she was inspired to write a book aimed at helping women succeed in business. Now, that book eventually became the business plan that she used to launch Mary Kay Cosmetics. Now, why do I start with that? It's fairly simple. I want you to get an idea that she was, of course, an amazing, world-famous entrepreneur, and I'm going to go through more of them, but just a little bit of her story to give you an idea how important it is to craft and create your story from where you started to where you are just now. And I'm going to talk into that anyway, but I want you to get some idea from those famous ones, and some of them, as soon as I mention their name, of course, you already know their story, but the fact that you already know their story shows how much of an impact those stories have. So So today I will talk into the reason why I chose this topic and why stories. We all have a story to tell, so the best story ever told. I'm going to talk into that. Of course, my personal story. Some short overviews of successful entrepreneur stories, which I already started with just now. Why it is important to use our story as an entrepreneur. And of course, there is no need to stand up and provide an hour keynote to an audience of thousands, but short overviews of what led you to become an entrepreneur, your journey so far. See, a compelling story provides buy-in for your employees too, as well as for your customers and maybe potential investors. I will talk into that. And eventually on the fourth session, I'm going to talk about 6 steps to develop your story. How we can create the right story in order to create a more amazing connection and build relationships with our clients. And is that not really what we want to do? I mean, I'm excited about this kind of stuff because in my JR Speakers Club, the whole reason I started that is because I know everybody's got a story. And I know every story is important and everybody needs to hear your story. Whether everybody gets as excited and maybe impacted or inspired by it, that's a different story. But it is very necessary to tell your story. Les Brown talks, my friend and mentor talks about it all the time. Now, what are personal stories? Why personal stories are important? I'm going to delve a little bit into it to give you a little overview in this session. But through stories, we share passion, fears, sadness, hardships and joys, and we find common ground with other people so that we can connect and communicate with them. Stories are universal, conveying meaning and purpose that help us understand ourselves better and find commonality with others. So it's really when we start connecting at a human level with people, because through our sadness, our hardships and our fears, you know, people like to hear success stories, but they love to hear stories of failure because that makes you human, that makes you much more connectable with them. So when you tell your story, you spark a connection. And that is how humans have communicated since the beginning of time, before reading or writing was about, by telling stories. See, stories have been told since even before humans learned to read and write. Everyday events became stories to tell children. Scribes and priests told stories of religious affairs, and leaders told heroic tales of their adventures. These stories have passed on through generations. Some of them fill up history books, some are integral to culture, and some are embedded in family values. Now, stories are central to human cognition and communication. See, we engage with others through stories, and storytelling is a lot more than just a recital of facts and events. And that's how we really need to craft our stories. As human beings, we are automatically drawn to stories because we see ourselves reflected in them. Now, I can remember personally my history teacher, who was also the headmaster in our primary school in the Netherlands. I took up history in secondary school as one of my subjects, not because I necessarily really wanted to do anything with history, but he was a history teacher and he could tell such amazing stories. We used to be engaged, you know, listen to every word that came out of his mouth because he was so passionate and so engaging for us children that because of that I took up history. So it gives you just an idea how important a great story told very well, or even a bad story but told very well and very passionately, coming from the heart, how much of an impact that can have. It had an impact on me, and I still remember the name of the teacher to this day, and believe me, it is several decades ago, by the way. But it is so important because we inevitably interpret the meaning in stories and understand ourselves better. See, we get to know ourselves better. Les Brown always says when he does a keynote, he says, I don't care how much people remember or how much people listen to me. If maybe 10 minutes into my talk, they actually get a thought because of it and they start going off on a tangent on their own and start thinking about this stuff, I have succeeded. Because I want my talks not to just afterwards go, oh, lovely talk. No, I want people to go home and really be impacted and do something and achieve something or want to be inspire them to become better because of something they heard in my talk that related to them. I hope that makes sense. Now, what all this has to do with entrepreneurship, I will really get into as well. But we live in a fast-paced information age where information, concepts and ideas continually bombard us from every direction. Do stories really matter to us anymore? Well, I've got here 6 reasons why stories have matters and will continue to be essential to human existence. First of all, stories are universal. Secondly, stories help us to understand our place in the world. 3, stories help us learn how to act wisely. Oh, well, that's a good one. 4, stories help shape our perspective of the world. 5, stories help us to understand other people and their perspectives. And 6, stories pass down knowledge and morals. Now, I will elaborate on these in the next session, so you get a little bit more insight into them. But you don't have to start out as an expert in order to run a successful business. But of course, many entrepreneurs have started a business without money or financial backing. And similarly, over the years, plenty of entrepreneurs have found success in the fields where they had no previous experience. So, whether you're young and considering starting your very first business or just getting started in a different field, these successful entrepreneurs with no experience should provide a dose of inspiration for your new venture. See, that's how this is so important. Now, I've already mentioned one and will provide some more very short stories of these successful entrepreneurs throughout my sessions today, just to give you some ideas and insights in why stories are important. Now, here is another one. I've just got time for Colonel Harlan Sanders. Now everybody knows who he is. Colonel Sanders had no formal restaurant training or experience before starting what would eventually become Kentucky Fried Chicken. He learned to cook when caring for his siblings as a child, and he held a number of odd jobs through the first part of his career, including his work in the army and on local farms and railroads. He started in the restaurant business because he was running a local service station in Kentucky, but it was the chicken dishes he served that eventually gained the most attention. And that is his part of the story. Now I'm going to take a short break, but don't go away because we're going to delve really into it after the break.